This is my project bin, and today I have quite a few projects to discuss. To start, I recently got these Athearn grain cars for fairly cheap from a friend. While I've already got a fairly large grain train, I would like to slowly shift the consist to a relatively modern Union Pacific grain train, which is why I acquired both of these cars right here. I've already upgraded both of these pieces to match my standards. They both now have Kadees when they originally had McHenrys, and now they have the correct amount of weight and adequate coupler heights. With these additions, I should probably bring out my entire grain train in the near future, because something tells me this thing will need a test run with these new cars. On the topic of adjusting equipment to my standards, I've been upgrading a large quantity of my fleet to Kadee couplers. A few of these pieces of rolling stock include this old-time boxcar, which was originally equipped with horn hook couplers. Then we have this Walther's Trainline hopper, which was originally equipped with Easy Mates. And then we have the Southern Pacific caboose, which was originally equipped with McHenrys, as it's an Athearn piece. While these were relatively simple projects, these cars definitely perform better with Kadees. Plus, this is a step towards standardizing my entire fleet. I've also given an extra addition to the Athearn Southern Pacific caboose, which, as you can see on the underside, is this track cleaning pad known as a dust monkey. Recently, I've acquired more of these, and it's because the club that I'm a member of requires a track cleaner, such as a dust monkey, on all trains that run on the layout. And to make my life simple, I've split the dust monkeys between all my passenger consists and my cabooses. This includes my Amtrak train, my SP Overland set, my SP Sunset Limited, along with my Baltimore and Ohio, Western Pacific, Santa Fe, and Union Pacific cabooses. I still have 2 dust monkeys left that I'll rotate as needed. However, this has made my life much easier so far when packing to go to the club. On the topic of track cleaning, I recently turned this scale test car into a permanent track cleaner with a broken dust monkey that had been sitting in my parts bin for close to 2 years. The upgrade isn't the cleanest, as you can see. There's still a little bit of runoff and other stuff around there. However, it gets the job done. And I found it nearly impossible to give any grain cars a dust monkey, so this serves the purpose of being the track cleaner on my grain train. And while I was at it, I also gave this car some fresh Kadee couplers. Taking a break from rolling stock, it is about time for me to let go of my Rivarossi cab forward. Originally, I rescued this locomotive from another club member as it was in very rough condition and was about to be thrown out. In a past video, I actually went through this entire locomotive and restored it with parts from my other cab forward, so technically, this has only been a $15 cab forward, which is quite impressive. This unit runs quite well, but for reasons you'll see in just a second, I definitely needed to let go of this unit. And the reason is this, an Intermountain cab forward. I'll keep this short as I intend to make a video on this thing in the near future. Another club member had this engine with wiring problems and wanted to turn it into a dummy unit and display it on the club's layout. He was aware of my Rivarossi cab forward and my interest in fixing trains, so as long as I got this thing running, it's mine, so long as he gets to keep the Rivarossi unit. I've completely rewired this unit with Tsunami 2, and it's nearly perfect. There's still a few wiring issues, which I'll save for the future video, but this thing works great. It still needs quite a bit of cosmetic work, but I can't really complain, especially for the deal that this thing was. This Bowser Challenger, however, has had a much different success level. In my last Project Bin episode, I shared how I rewired this unit with Tsunami 2 as well. However, that hasn't gone the greatest. On my first test run, I wired the unit incorrectly, meaning that only this rear set of drivers was actually picking up any power whatsoever, not the front set. This led to the engine continually stalling. I went back to the drawing board and rewired this thing properly, which was a success. However, during the second test run, I broke this worm gear mount right in there, and I had to replace that afterwards when I got back home. So then, once that was fixed, I went to test this thing out without messing with anything else, mind you, and then this thing was short-circuiting for whatever reason. I've got no clue why it's short-circuiting, and for now, I'm putting this project on hold. I've invested a ton of time into this thing and dealt with issue after issue, and now I just need to focus on the rest of my massive fleet. Plus, at this point, I need a break from this project. A really quick tool acquisition to mention, I recently got this heat gun. It was like $15 and I got it for the purpose of shrinking heat shrink tube. It works really well and it has a great adapter right here, and I've used it to wire up the Intermountain cab forward. Also, I bought some more super glue, and I've got some more plastic cement on the way as well, which should help me with upgrading my entire fleet to Kadees, as I've got some interesting projects to tackle there. Another tool that I recently built to help improve the accuracy of my coupler heights is this track with the Kadee coupler height gauge and my ideal weights depending on the length of the car. I had actually built one of these previously, which I've used a whole bunch in the past. However, the wood on that had quite a bit of flex, and I didn't trust that it was accurately showing me what my coupler height was. I also shifted the scale quite a bit, as I like my cars slightly heavier than the NMRA standard, and with the few cars I've worked on so far, this test track has worked out great. And I'm still not done with my Kadee upgrades. This is one of my Bachmann Silver Series ore cars, which was featured in my last video. Ages ago, I upgraded this along with my 3 other ore cars in terms of weight, and finally my set of 4 now has Kadees. I still have a 5th car that needs weight and Kadees, however, I'm procrastinating on that project as I can't find a matching load, also known as the load here, to go with it. I also, let alone, can't find any loads for these Bachmann ore cars anywhere that say they will work. If anyone has any ideas, please leave a comment and let me know, because I'd love to replace the loads in these current cars and buy more, because I would eventually like to expand my ore car fleet and have a very long matching consist. And if you couldn't tell, I really like these ore cars. Excluding my cars with horn hooks, the 5th ore car is the last piece of rolling stock in my fleet that still needs Kadees. However, I still have countless engines to upgrade to Kadees. One that I've already upgraded is this Union Pacific AHM GP18, which actually happens to be my first ever locomotive. The conversion was slightly difficult, as AHM engines have unusual truck designs as seen on this SW1. I really like both of these units, as outdated as they may be. On this GP18, I started by modifying these truck covers to delete the bulky coupler box. Since the coupler box also held the task of holding the truck covers in place, I've added a screw to the end of each of the trucks, as you can see there, to hold the truck covers in place. And side note, these tiny screws that I'm using in here, they have been incredibly helpful. Still, there are more modifications I had to do before I could mount the new coupler boxes. These AHM engines, as you may be able to see, not sure how well it'll come across on the side there, have a little ledge just at the end of the frame, which makes it nearly impossible to just straight up mount one of these Kadee coupler boxes too. To install the box, I had to level the area out, which means I had to cut a little bit of white styrene, as you can kind of see right down there, and then I just glued the coupler boxes onto the unit using some of these lower level Kadee couplers, and it worked out pretty well. The coupler heights look pretty good, and while this thing was a ton of work, I like the result. As long as I've had this unit, I've never been able to pull anything with this locomotive without running a long hood forward, like so, because the coupler box in the rear had been broken since I got the thing. However, I'm not really looking forward to upgrading my other AHM units, like this SW1, similarly. My desire is that by the end of the year, I would like my entire HO scale fleet to be upgraded to Kadees, excluding my British collection and my 1800s Bachmann sets. Upgrading these old DC engines will definitely be the trickiest part of that upgrade. I have a ton of them to upgrade, and many of them will require unique solutions to mount Kadees and boxes to them, such as these AHM GP18s, and I'm certain there's going to be worse in my fleet. On the topic of AHM, I've invested a lot of work into upgrading this tank car with Kadees, metal wheels, and proper weight. While I usually would not invest this much time and effort into an AHM car, this is a unique piece and I actually have a use for it. Despite the current lettering, if I recall correctly, Southern Pacific had a small fleet of these 6-dome tank cars that were used for wine throughout Northern California in the 60s and 70s, potentially even in the late 50s. I'm not entirely certain, but I do really want one of these in my fleet. So far, I've done the basics. These AHM and similar cars use clips for the truck, which I've replaced with some styrene tubing, screws, and Athearn trucks. The coupler boxes were the most difficult part of this unit, as there is not much material to mount to with the stock car. However, I used some flat styrene, as you can see here, to make a bar to mount the coupler box to, which worked well. In terms of detail, I actually added this handbrake right here to the car, as the AHM model lacks one. While it's a bit odd looking currently, I do plan to repaint and detail at least the bottom half of this car. I would like to improve how it looks, however, I haven't yet decided if I want to detail and repaint this upper half of the car, mostly because I don't know what I would letter it for. I also do not remember if I mentioned it just now, but I have weighted this car, and that's how the inside of this thing looks. Really quickly, before I conclude the video, I actually scripted this video for the first time. It definitely took me much longer to make this entire video, but I think it turned out well. I might have gone a little bit quickly, but this is something I definitely would like to get used to. If you have any input, please let me know, but I think I'll try scripting more videos like this one in the near future.